pitch, but I mean roll, right?
Oh, Brian, did you do a roll?
Want to do a roll?
Der Zeitpunkt für Erkundungsunternehmen scheint günstig, denn der rote Planet ist gerade besonders nahe der Erde.
Vor allem die Landung auf dem roten Planeten wird kritisch bei der sogenannten Rover-Mission. Zunächst schwebt die Marssonde an einem Fallschirm hängend langsam Richtung Oberfläche. Kurz vor der Landung pumpen sich schließlich Airbags automatisch auf. Sie federn den Aufprall ab, nach der Landung entweicht die Luft. Der Mars-Rover klappt sich auf, die Mission kann beginnen. Wir haben 800 Millionen US-Dollar in diese Mission investiert, um alles richtig zu machen. Ich kann sagen, alles Menschenmögliche ist unternommen worden, damit nichts schief läuft. Aber der Mars ist eben der Todesplanet und dort sind schon viele Missionen fehlgeschlagen. Die Suche nach Leben auf dem Todesplaneten. Dafür setzt die NASA den Rover ein. Ein Mini-Fahrzeug mit eingebautem Labor. Ferngesteuert nimmt der Rover Gesteinsproben, immer auf der Suche nach Wasser. Wo auch immer man auf der Erde Wasser findet, findet man auch Energie und organische Zellen. Dort ist Leben. Wasser ist der Schlüssel zum Leben. Eines unserer Missionsziele ist die Suche nach Leben. In gut 2 Wochen will die NASA noch einen zweiten Rover zum roten Planeten schicken. Die Forscher erhoffen sich Antworten auf die Frage, gab es jemals Leben auf dem Mars?
For 6 months before landing on the surface of the red planet. One of the key goals of the mission is to search for signs of water and possibly life.
When you look at Mars today, it's cold, it's dry, it's barren, it's a very desolate place, and yet there are these tantalizing clues that in the past it used to be different. We see dried up riverbeds, we see dried up lake beds. The idea is to go to a couple of those places, try to read the story that the rocks have to tell, and try to figure out whether or not in the past Mars would have had conditions that would have been much more favorable for life.
The second rover is scheduled to be launched later this month. Both are expected to reach the planet next January.
Mit Sorge beobachten die Flugmanager der US-Raumfahrtbehörde allerdings eine sich nähernde Unwetterfront. Sollte das Vorhaben witterungsbedingt abgesagt werden müssen, bleiben in den kommenden Tagen jedoch noch genügend Startfenster, so hieß es bei der NASA. Dem ersten Roboter soll am 25. Juni ein zweiter baugleicher Zwilling folgen. Beide Rover sollen den Mars im Januar 2004 erreichen und nach Wasser- und Lebensspuren suchen.
Ein fahrendes Labor ist der Mars Rover. Der Roboter soll den NASA-Forschern Aufschluss über die Frage geben, gab es jemals Leben auf dem Mars? Eine schwierige Mission. Mehrere Versuche, Sonden auf den Mars zu schicken, sind bereits fehlgeschlagen. Der Mars gilt den NASA-Forschern als Todesplanet für Forschungsmissionen. Wir haben alles Menschenmögliche für den Erfolg dieser Mission getan, aber am Ende sind wir dem roten Planeten ausgeliefert. 800 Millionen US-Dollar kostet das Rover-Programm. In gut 2 Wochen will die NASA noch ein zweites Fahrzeug Richtung Mars schicken. Besonders die Landung ist kritisch. Hier kann das Fahrzeug leicht beschädigt werden. Zunächst schwebt der Mars-Rover an einem Fallschirm hängend abwärts Richtung Marsoberfläche. Kurz vor der Landung pumpen sich Airbags automatisch auf. Sie federn den Aufprall ab. Nach der Landung entweicht schließlich die Luft, der Rover wird aufgeklappt, dann kann die Mission beginnen. Am Ende kommt es darauf an, wie hart der Rover aufprallt und auf was für einem Untergrund er landet. Gestochen scharfe Bilder vom Mars sollen die beiden Rover zur Erde schicken. Auch dadurch erhoffen sich die NASA-Forscher Aufschluss über die Frage, gab es jemals Leben auf dem roten Planeten?
Beim Start der Mars-Mission können Sie, liebe Zuschauer, am Bildschirm dabei sein. NTV überträgt das Ereignis auf dem amerikanischen Weltraumbahnhof Cape Canaveral in Florida live um 20 Uhr.
Wegen eines heftigen Unwetters in Florida wurde der Start eines Landeroboters zum Mars auf morgen verlegt. Wie in dieser Animation soll eine Delta-Rakete den Rover ins All bringen. Ein zweiter folgt Ende Juni. Im Januar sollen die 180 Kilo schweren Fahrzeuge mit Hilfe von Fallschirmen und Airbags auf dem roten Planeten landen und dort nach Lebensspuren suchen. Bereits vergangene Woche hatten die Europäer ihren Mars-Express auf die Reise geschickt.
Der Rover genannte Roboter soll heute Nachmittag zum roten Planeten geschickt werden. Wegen eines Sturms war der Start gestern abgesagt worden. Der Rover soll Gesteinsproben von der Marsoberfläche nehmen und Fotos zur Erde schicken. Die US-Weltraumbehörde NASA erhofft sich durch den Einsatz des Rover Erkenntnisse über mögliches Leben auf dem Mars.
Heute Abend nun hofft die NASA auf besseres Wetter. Um 19:58 Uhr unserer mitteleuropäischer Zeit soll der erste von insgesamt 2 Mars-Rovern von Cape Canaveral in Florida aus zum roten Planeten starten.
Noch ist es nur eine Animation, doch heute Abend soll es endlich klappen. Gegen 20 Uhr deutscher Zeit will die NASA den 3. Versuch starten und Spirit den ersten Mars-Rover ins All schießen. Fast 7 Monate braucht die Trägerrakete. Am 4. Januar 2004 soll Spirit den roten Planeten erreichen. Die Landung, umhüllt von Airbags, die den Aufprall abfedern, setzt der Rover auf dem Mars auf, legt das Landeequipment ab und entfaltet sich zu einem Hightech-Geländefahrzeug. In der Computeranimation funktioniert alles reibungslos, doch ein Risiko bleibt. Der Mars, sagt dieser NASA-Mitarbeiter, ist schon für viele Raumfahrzeuge zum Friedhof geworden. Wir tun alles, um das Risiko zu minimieren, aber ein Restrisiko bleibt. 3 Wochen nach Spirit soll der zweite Mars-Rover den roten Planeten erreichen. Opportunity, ein baugleiches Fahrzeug, rund $800 Millionen, haben die Roboter zusammen gekostet. Ihre erste Aufgabe, ein 360-Grad-Überblick von der Landestelle per Panoramakamera. Dann sollen die Fahrzeuge Bodenproben nehmen und so Erkenntnisse über Wasservorkommen liefern. Wo immer wir Wasser, Energie oder organische Verbindungen finden, finden wir Leben. Wasser ist der Schlüssel zum Leben und eines der 3 wichtigsten Ziele der NASA ist die Suche nach Leben. Dabei sollen die Rover nicht nur genau, sondern auch schnell arbeiten, denn der Mars-Express der Europäischen Weltraumagentur hat ein paar Tage Vorsprung. Er soll bereits an Weihnachten auf dem roten Planeten eintreffen.
Und der Hinweis für Sie: um kurz vor 20 Uhr startet also die Mars-Mission und NTV überträgt. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu unserer Sonderberichterstattung zum Start der NASA-Mars-Mission. In Cape Canaveral läuft bereits der Countdown. Sie sehen neben mir das Bild anliegen. Das ist Florida, Cape Canaveral. Zweimal war ja der Start dort verschoben worden. Regen hier auf der Erde hat die Suche der US-Raumfahrtbehörde nach Wasser auf dem roten Planeten verzögert. Heute Abend nun hofft die NASA auf einen optimalen Start. Laut Plan soll diese Sonde hier um 19:58 Uhr deutscher Zeit abheben und soll das erste von insgesamt 2 Mars-Rovern von Cape Canaveral in Florida aus starten. Die NASA sozusagen auf den Spuren der Europäischen Raumfahrtbehörde, der ESA. Am vergangenen Montag hatte die ja ihre Mars-Mission schon gestartet. Dort war der Start ausgesprochen erfolgreich verlaufen. Hier sehen Sie jetzt eine Delta-Rakete. Sie wird den ersten von 2 Mars-Rovern auf den Weg schicken zum roten Planeten. Dieser erste Mars-Rover trägt übrigens den Namen Spirit, also Geist. Sein Zwillingsbruder heißt Opportunity, Gelegenheit. Das war in einer internationalen Namensfindung, war man zu diesen beiden Namen gekommen. Die NASA hat die Schlechtwetterfronten relativ gelassen hingenommen, denn sie wusste, sie hat genügend Zeit. Das Startfenster war für mehrere Tage offen. Heute nun soll das Wetter in Florida ausgesprochen gut sein. Wir warten jetzt auf den Start dieser Delta-Rakete. Für die NASA selbst hängt ja vom Erfolg dieser Mission sehr viel ab. Sie hatten einige Pleiten erlebt. Ich erinnere nur an diese Columbia-Katastrophe. Außerdem gab es auch Berichte über interne Probleme innerhalb der Raumfahrtbehörde. Und nun hofft man natürlich, dass diese beiden Mars-Roboter sicher auf dem Mars landen werden und dann ähnlich aufregende Fernsehaufnahmen zeigen. Sie werden sich vielleicht erinnern, das war 1997. Da war dieser Pathfinder auf dem Mars gelandet und wir konnten Zeugen werden von atemberaubenden Aufnahmen direkt vom roten Planeten. Diese Rover, das sind im Prinzip so Art kleine Marsfahrzeuge, so Art kleine Marsautos. Sie haben ein Gewicht von 180 Kilogramm und eine Kopf- oder Stehhöhe, wie immer Sie wollen, von 1,5 Metern. Es sind also richtige Kleinfahrzeuge und im Gegensatz zu den europäischen Sonden, die nach oben geschickt oder der europäischen Sonde, die da nach oben geschickt wurde, ist dieses Auto natürlich mobil. Es hat also einen richtigen Radius, bis zu 10 Kilometer kann es sich von seinem Standort entfernen und ist dann mit höchster Technik ausgerüstet. Ich höre gerade, es sind noch 80 Sekunden bis zum Start dieser Delta-Rakete. Da bleiben wir natürlich drauf. Hinterher werden wir Ihnen dann ganz genau in einem Film zeigen, was genau die Amerikaner planen, wie das alles funktioniert, wie dieser Rover auf der Marsoberfläche landen soll und welche Aufgaben ihm zukommen. Was wir sehen vom Himmel über Florida unbewölkt. In der Vergangenheit, am Pfingstsonntag und Montag, waren es Gewitterfronten, die die NASA-Experten beunruhigt hatten. Heute nun offenbar kommt es zum Start, der Countdown läuft. Es dürften jetzt nur noch einige Sekunden sein, bis diese Delta-Rakete gestartet wird. 6 bis 7 Monate braucht übrigens ist die Flugzeit, bis der erste Roboter dann auf der Oberfläche landen kann. Und die Amerikaner erhoffen sich, also wir hören gerade noch 15 Sekunden.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 green board, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, engine start and liftoff of the Delta II rocket carrying the Spirit
die
from Earth to
Delta-Rakete
planet
hebt ab
Mars.
vom Raumfahrtbahnhof Cape Canaveral in Florida. Sie sehen fantastische Bilder. Bisher läuft alles reibungslos. Das ist im Prinzip eine kleine Geologenwerkstatt, die dort transportiert wird, denn dieser Rover hat Hightech-Hämmer bei sich. Er kann also richtig Gesteinsbrocken zertrümmern. Übrigens wurde die meiste Technik innerhalb dieses kleinen technischen Wunders hier in Deutschland entwickelt und soll sich dann also auf dem Mars bewähren. Außerdem ist ein Röntgenspektrometer mit an Bord vom Max-Planck-Institut und natürlich diese bekannten Panoramakameras, von denen sich die Welt wieder spektakuläre Fotos vom Mars erhofft. Genauso wie die ESA, genauso wie die Europäer sind die Amerikaner ja auf der Suche nach Wasser. Wasser würde dafür sprechen, dass Leben auf dem Mars möglich war, vielleicht auch in Zukunft wieder möglich ist. Jetzt sehen wir die erste Zündstufe. Hier eine Aufnahme, wie die Delta-Rakete ins All aufsteigt. Also im Januar soll der Roboter auf dem Mars landen. Sein Zwillingsbruder Opportunity wird ihm folgen. Noch in diesem Monat, Ende des Monats, ist der Start vorgesehen. Sie werden dann übrigens auf dem Mars an ganz unterschiedlichen Orten landen, ohne miteinander Kontakt zu haben. Man hat also sich zum einen einen riesigen Krater ausgesucht und zum anderen eine kraterlose Ebene. Beide Landeplätze, so heißt es, also diese Zielgebiete, würden für eine feuchte Vergangenheit sprechen. Und ich hatte ja bereits darüber berichtet, man sucht in erster Linie nach Wasser. Ja, 2004 im Januar werden sie da sein. Die Europäer werden bereits im Dezember da sein, aber durchaus unterschiedliche Aufgaben haben. Die Europäer haben ja mit dem Mars Express ein Modul auf den Mars entsandt, das nicht flexibel ist, das sich nicht bewegen kann, aber eine Bohrvorrichtung hat, sodass es der Beagle 2, diese Minisonde, also nach seinem kontrollierten Absturz in der Marsoberfläche Gesteinsproben und Erdproben nehmen kann, in denen man dann eventuell nachweisen kann, ob Wasser auf dem Mars vorhanden ist. Ja, liebe Zuschauer, spannende Bilder.
in on time. Coming up on T plus 210 seconds into the mission. The main engine and verniers continue to burn well as we head into the thin atmosphere. Main engine now delivering over 240,000 pounds of thrust as we pass an altitude of 48 nautical miles. And we're running a downrange distance of 225 nautical miles with a velocity of 10,000 miles per hour. Onboard video system still looking great from here at the AE telemetry station, sending back a remarkable image from the first stage.
Quality of the data here at the Mission Director Center is very good, both from the tracking station here at the Cape and the South Florida Jupiter Inlet Station.
Fuel float switch followed by box float switch, and we have enabled MECO. And there's MECO. Our main engine has cut off, shut down on time. Both verniers looking good. And we have VECO. Both verniers cut off on time. We've separated the stages and started the second stage. Second stage is ignited, up and running. And we looks like we have a very clean helium reg pressure, no signs of oscillation there.
And the successful launch of the robot probe to the planet Mars from Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center there.
And once again, our chance of weather rule violation is less than half what it was yesterday. And there is no rain on the radar currently. At T-minus 83 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting, this is Delta Launch Control.
Right.
This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 73 minutes, 43 seconds and counting. This is the Delta Launch Operations building that we're looking at, where the propellant loading is being controlled from for loading liquid oxygen onto the Delta first stage.
Timers, report to UTC time. One, final load was open.
16, 14, 26.
And then prop one, let's have the engine heaters on. Heaters are on. And then prop one, enable LOX relief valve plenum heater on, only if the plenum pressure approaches 7.4. Roger. PTO, monitor and observe Fabu heater cycling.
Roger.
Prop one, Fabu heater on. Bamboo's on. And then prop 2, locks, load, timer to enable to on. On. And then prop 1, monitor vehicle locks, tank pressure. Roger. And then prop 1, monitor the vehicle locks, tank temp, lock start tank, vent lines, and VE bleed ports for Cox. Roger. Top page 64.
This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 72 minutes, 20 seconds and counting.
Animation that was done by a student at Cornell earlier in the life of the project, and it's a very good depiction of what this mission will go through from liftoff until its completion. You see here a representation of the launch vehicle today, a little bit sunnier day than we actually have outside, but it's a very nice representation. We're on, as you know, the Delta II launch vehicle, the 7925. Three-stage launch vehicle with 9 solids on the first stage, and then a second stage, and then a Star 48 third stage for the actual injection to the Mars trajectory. Here we have liftoff. In the actual trajectory, it's about 37 minutes or so until the spacecraft separates from the launch vehicle. We'll go through that quite a bit faster in this animation. 6 of the solids light upon liftoff. And we lose those shortly after launch, a couple of minutes out. There's the first 3 and the second 3. The final 3 solids are ignited about that point in time. They're called the airlit solids. They burn out and then are ejected. This shows first stage burnout and then second stage ignition. Actually, the animation's a little bit incorrect here. We actually do a second stage cut off, and then a parking orbit, and then a reburn, and a third stage injection. This just shows the complete injection. You saw the fairing come off a second ago. This is the third stage, and it's a spinning injection, so we spin up the third stage, kick it off, and then light off the Star 48, which burns for only about 2 minutes. Very high impulse, solid rocket motor burn. These devices come out to slow down the spin rate, and then the spacecraft is separated from the third stage and is on its way to Mars. At this time, it's spinning about 12 RPM, and in about a day or so, we'll spin it down to about 2 RPM. That's the configuration it goes to Mars on. We're then on our way, and 7 months later, we're ready for entry, descent, landing, and the surface mission. We'll arrive in January of 2004. Here we kick off the cruise stage just before entry, and you can see the vehicle coming into the Martian atmosphere. We go from about 12,000 miles an hour to 0 in 6 minutes. Here the heat shield is taking about 90% of the energy of the vehicle off. And there's a little bit, in a few seconds, this parachute will deploy. It deploys between Mach 1.3 and Mach 2, so we're still supersonic at this point, around 1,000 miles an hour. About 30 seconds before landing, we will drop off the heat shield. And then you'll see the lander come down on a bridle. This is just like Pathfinder. And we do that to get away from the retro rocket you'll see fire in a few seconds. We acquire radar of the ground at this time, and we begin to work out a solution for the firing that will slow us down to close to 0. The airbags inflate about that rapidly, about 8 seconds off the ground. The retro rockets fire to get us as close to 0 velocity, as close to the ground as possible. We cut the bridle and we drop about 10 meters, around 30 feet, and then we bounce. We could bounce anywhere between 8 to 12 to maybe more than 20 times, depending. And we'll go maybe between 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers actually rolling. Pathfinder rolled a little over 1 kilometer, I believe, on their landing. It looks pretty tumultuous, but actually about the first 2 or 3 bounces are the worst, and after that it's a relatively more benign environment than those first ones. When we come to a stop, the airbags will deflate. You'll see that not representative. And then the spacecraft will open. In this case, we're laying on one of its side pedals. It can sense which side is down, and so it knows in what order to open up the pedals, so to put the bottom of the lander, in fact, flat on the ground. And here you see the rover in the lander, all folded up inside. Solar arrays are folded up. They're now unfolding. And the 2 side ones come in 2 sections, and you'll see the second sections deploy in a second. Then we should see the PanCam mast, which contains the cameras and the thermal emission spectrometer periscope mirrors raising up. And then the high gain antenna will deploy. And that kind of completes the activities on the first day. We'll take a quick look around and store that data. We really won't get a good communications opportunity until the beginning of day one, because although the sun doesn't set on the landing site for a while, the Earth does, and so we will lose communications with Spirit about 10 to 15 minutes after landing. We don't expect to get any real radio communications after we cut the bridle because the geometries are just too uncertain. On the second day, we'll begin the stand-up activities, and here the rover actually gets picked up by a mechanism below it, and the wheels deploy. You can see the front wheels kind of fold out in a strange way. And then the back wheels, if you look here, will back drive in a second, I believe. There they go. And then we will take another look around, doing probably a science panorama, very similar to the Pathfinder panorama that everyone saw. We'll also be looking around the lander to see where we are and how we're tilted and if we've got a good direction to roll off. You'll see in a second these kind of fabric looking things between the pedals, which are actually called egress aids, and they help us roll over the rocks and the airbags that might be scrunched up underneath us. They provide good traction for the rover's wheels. The mast is about 5 feet off the ground, a little bit more, kind of the eye level, and it has extremely good vision. This shows the second night before we roll off. It'll take us about 4 days, all in all, we think, to get completely off the lander into what we call 6 wheels on the ground. Here we're coming down the egress aids, and now we're fully on Mars and able to operate independent of the lander. The wheels have steering motors in every of the 4 corner wheels. We're able to turn in place, basically, and each of the 6 wheels have their own separate drive motors. In all likelihood, we'll spend a little bit more time than this directly around the lander, examining whatever the rocks and soils are around us, and planning ahead for the next big traverse where we might go some distance away from the lander. The rover is capable of going about 100 meters an hour on flat terrain with no hazards. But if we have rocks or gullies or things that might represent hazards to the rover, then it will actually go quite a bit slower than that. It has small cameras in the front of it looking down, which is able to process the scene directly in front of it and able to avoid hazards, and then if it finds itself in a situation it cannot work itself out of, it will actually call home for help. Here you see the instrument arm deploying. There are 4 instruments on the instrument arm, a rock abrasion tool we'll see in a second, a Moss-Bauer spectrometer, an alpha particle spectrometer, and a microscopic imager. The arm is about the length of your arm, about the length of a human arm, and here you see the rock abrasion tool about ready to operate against a Martian rock. The purpose of this device is to get below the weathering rind on the exterior of the rocks so that the other science instruments can actually examine the grain and minerals that are part of the native rock material without looking at the weathering products. Here you see the microscopic imager being put in place. It's kind of like a geologist's hand lens that's able to look at the fine crystalline structure in the rock. And this is a representation of what we might see in January of next year. The rover goes to sleep at night. It needs to conserve its energy because of the cold temperatures at night. Can get almost down to 100 degrees below 0 centigrade. And so we behave very much like you and I do on Earth, is we work during the day and we go to sleep and rest at night. What you're seeing here is the arrival of the spacecraft here at KSC. It was shipped in stages. The cruise stage and aeroshell with the landers arrived first towards the end of January, and then the middle of February, the rover was shipped here at Cape. What you're looking at now is shots of the rover in its fully deployed configuration with the wheels deployed. Here we're on the base pedal on a shot of the cruise stage. This is one of the thruster clusters that allows us to maneuver the spacecraft on the way to Mars. This is the backside of the cruise stage. This is what mates with the back shell, which is part of the entry vehicle. Here you can see the solar panels for the cruise stage, which provides the energy on the way to Mars. We are here checking out the mobility system. So we're on the floor at PHSF, moving the front and rear drive wheels, checking those out. We drove over obstacles to show that the rocker bogie system appropriately operated. And you can see we configured the ramps to be in different configurations so that we could independently check out the right side and left side mobility systems. We're deploying the solar panels for the rover, which will provide us the energy on the surface of Mars. We have batteries that are inside the rover for backup. These are the Weir solar array panels being deployed. What's being deployed now is the PanCam mast assembly. It contains the panoramic camera to do stereoscopic color photography, as well as optics for the emission thermal spectrometer. Here you see the lander with the egress aids fully deployed. And here the lander pedals partially deployed. This shows the airbags that are installed on the outside of the lander pedals. And the final closeout of that, we are now have installed the lander into the back shell, and the heat shield was being installed onto the aeroshell. Here we are in a completely configured launch configuration. We're doing a spin to spin balance the spacecraft. We're spin stabilized on the way to Mars, so this is a crucial test. Moved off the spin table and are in the process of being installed on the third stage of the launch vehicle in preparation to be move out to the pad. You see they're installing the lower half of the transportation container that protects the spacecraft when it's transported out to Launch Complex 17. Here it is in its finally perfected configuration, and on the transporter moving out to the launch pad.
This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 39 minutes 48 seconds and counting. Our liquid oxygen loading activities are complete on the Delta first stage, and at this time the vehicle is in good shape for an on-time launch this afternoon. We're working to resolve our range problems, which at this point all appear solvable in plenty of time for the launch, and the weather is not presenting any problems at all today. We have almost no clouds in the local area, and there's no rain on the radar. At T-minus 39 minutes and counting, this is Delta Launch Control.
LCDR, Channel 1.
LCDR, go.
Yes, sir. This is SSP reporting that propellant tank pressurization and sphere pressurization is complete at this time.
Copy.
Minus 33 minutes.
FSC, verify E-package on.
On.
SSC, verify E-package on.
On.
GE, slew charts to 5 milliseconds.
5 mils.
CLCDR, LC-17A, hydraulic enable on.
On.
FSC, HPU on.
HPU on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. HPU on.
Following personnel, report ready to continue with countdown on Channel 1. Those are the personnel that were assigned to guidance system turn on and second stage pressurization. ATC 3, ready. SSC,
Ready.
SCM,
Ready.
GE,
Ready.
SSP,
Ready.
TM2,
Ready.
ATC 2,
Ready.
Inspector 6,
Ready.
DP,
He's ready.
FMA,
Ready.
QAM 3,
3 is ready.
QAM 2,
Ready.
FSC,
Ready.
TM1,
Ready.
DST,
Ready.
and RC.
Ready.
And back to open.
LCDR, PTO.
Go.
I'm going to be open and for just a few moments here and we're going to
Copy. Proceed.
This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 30 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting. The launch vehicle continues to be healthy and pressing toward an on-time launch. This afternoon, we continue to work two range issues, one associated with a radar here at the Cape and the other with a link between the telemetry station here at the Cape and the Jupiter Inlet tracking station in South Florida. At this time, we do expect that both those issues can be resolved before it's time to launch today. We're going to look now at some video of the Boeing Delta II launch vehicle undergoing buildup out at Launch Complex 17 on Pad A. This is the first stage of the Delta vehicle, which was erected on the 23rd of April. It's moved into the mobile service tower, hoisted into the mobile service tower, and then the tower will be moved into position actually over the launcher itself. It's the hoisting into the tower. This is the stage that we've been fueling over the last hour or so with RP-1 fuel and liquid oxygen. This is the Delta second stage, which was brought out to the pad on April 28th. It is then rotated to vertical in preparation for hoisting vertically up the side of the tower. And that's the second stage that burns Aerozine 50 and nitrogen tetroxide, storable propellants that are loaded on board about 2 days before launch. And that is lowered into position once it's in the tower atop the first stage. And now the 9 solid rocket boosters are raised vertically, hoisted into the mobile service tower. They do this in sets of three each day, and then they're attached around the base of the first stage, so it takes 3 days normally to attach all 9. And then the spacecraft arrives at the launch pad. This is Spirit Mir-A being hoisted up the side of the mobile service tower to be mated to the top of the second stage. Here is the fairing, 2 halves of the fairing being prepared to be installed around the spacecraft. Here we see the spacecraft as it looks on top of the Delta vehicle right now, the first fairing half in place, and here preparing to move the second one into position. And there again we see the spacecraft, the upper stage, and the Delta vehicle all together with the fairing halves being mated around it. Here's the second half of the fairing coming in. And this is the last time that anyone will see the Mir-A Spirit spacecraft before launch until it reaches the surface of Mars. And back on the pad now, we're undergoing a steering check of the engines on the first and second stage. At T-minus 25 minutes, 10 seconds and counting, this is Delta Launch Control.
To the stop. Returning to center. Centered. VE 1 up, 2 down. To the stop. Returning to center. Centered. Main engine pitching up. To the stop. Returning to center. Centered. Main engine pitching down. To the stop. Returning to center. Centered. Main engine yawing right. To the stop. Returning to center. Centered. Main engine yawing left. To the stop. Returning to center. Centered. First stage sluice complete.
PD2 off. Timer, report second stage hydraulic pump turnoff time.
17:00:57.
170057.
Timer, report second stage hydraulic pump runtime duration.
140 seconds.
Please repeat.
140 seconds.
40.
TM2, report second stage bleed down time.
12 seconds. 12 seconds bleed down.
TM2, deactivate record on change.
Complete.
FSC, slew limits off.
Off.
SSC, slew limits off.
Off.
GE, slew charts to 1 mil per second.
1 mil.
This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 21 minutes and counting. We'll be standing by now to go into a 20-minute built-in hold in about a minute. This is the Spacecraft Control Center for the MER-A Spirit launch team, over adjacent to where MER-B, or Opportunity, is currently being processed. These are launch team and test team members from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory who've been here through most of the flow of the spacecraft, are familiar with every detail of how it operates. Going into the built-in hold now in 2, 1, T-minus 20 minutes and holding. 20-minute hold. Good news from the range. It looks like our issues with the Cape radar and the downrange station at Jupiter Inlet are both approaching resolution, so it looks like that we should be clearing those before long, as expected. This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 20 minutes and holding. We're in a planned standard 20-minute built-in hold at this time. No rain on the radar. Still moving toward a launch at 1:58. We'll look at a tape now of the scene earlier this morning at 7 o'clock when the gantry-like mobile service tower that provides the primary access to the vehicle and the weather protection was retracted from around the Boeing Delta II rocket at pad 17A. Are 3.3 feet in diameter, as we see them there. And the entire vehicle, as we see it there, is approximately 125 feet tall.
And it wouldn't even be a concern to us until they got to the 12,000 feet or even higher than that. So we're looking real good. The radar remains clean. Nothing out there. Really don't expect any. We'll continue to fly the aircraft, obviously, throughout. But right now, he's given us some good data, and there's been really no changes to the ground winds or upper winds, and we're meeting all constraints. And right now, we expect to remain so. That concludes my briefing. You have any questions?
You obviously solved your comm problem with them.
We're still kind of, we're able to get the data from the aircraft. We're still having a little bit of a problem, but we're getting the data, and that's the bottom line.
Roger. Thank you.
Here.
That was the conclusion of Launch Weather Officer Joel Tumbiola's briefing that in essence says what we've been observing on radar and on satellite, that our weather is green and we're go. We're still working for the final resolution of our range issues, but that is proceeding, and we hope to come out of this planned built-in hold-on schedule. At T-minus 20 minutes and holding, this is Delta Launch Control. The considerable ice buildup on the first stage of the Delta from the liquid oxygen on board.
L-minus 5 minutes.
LCDR, proceed with terminal count at the end of the hold.
Roger.
CLCDR, verify water pressure is 125 plus or minus 25.
That is verified.
FMA, board latch on.
On.
Stand by for release of the hold.
We have no constraints at this time. "30 seconds from coming out of the hold. Coming out of the hold in 10 seconds.
T-minus 4 minutes and counting.
SSC, perform vehicle internal transfer.
Active.
All launch team members now on channel 1.
Complete.
SSC, perform vehicle arm.
Active. Complete.
SSC, perform third stage internal transfer.
Active. Complete.
Standing by for go from the spacecraft.
T-minus 3 minutes. OSM, third stage, SNA arm permit closed.
Closed.
SSC, third stage, SNA arm.
Arm received.
Prop 1, vehicle fuel tank press open.
Open.
Prop 1, fuel umbilical purge open.
Open.
FSC, BAT-1 heater control exit.
Exit.
FSC, BAT-2 heater control exit.
Exit.
NSC, report spacecraft go.
Spacecraft is go.
T-minus 2 minutes. Prop 1, pressurized first stage LOX tank to relief.
Pressurizing.
LCDR, pad A deck flush on.
On.
5 mils.
110 seconds. Prop 2, first stage LOX to 100% level.
Stopping a LOX.
After liftoff, we'll be hearing telemetry manager Mark Levine calling the vehicle events.
Seconds. SSC, hydraulic external power on.
External.
Roger.
80 seconds.
RCO, report range go for launch.
RCOs go for launch.
LCDR, this is LVD, you go for launch.
Roger.
70 seconds. SSC, hydraulics internal.
Internal.
T-minus
60
1
seconds.
minute.
LCDR, countdown limited condition, T-minus 60 seconds on.
On.
.45 seconds. CLCDR, LC-17A, launch enable.
100% lock. Flight.
ATC 3, main power disable on.
On.
35 seconds.
Electronics go. And hydraulics go.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 green board, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, engine start, and liftoff of the Delta II rocket carrying the Spirit from Earth to planet Mars.
Load relief kick rate is in, vehicles responding. Vehicles recovering very nicely from the liftoff transients. T plus 20 seconds. Look normal for this phase of the flight. We're approaching Mach 1. And there we go. We've exceeded the supersonic speed, and the engine positions look good. Board video system working perfectly, sending back an immaculate image. We're now passing an altitude of 4 nautical miles with a downrange distance 15 nautical miles and a velocity of just coming up on 2,000 miles per hour. Passing T plus 60 seconds, our solid motors have burned out. Look like a nice symmetrical burn there on all 6 ground start motors. Jettisoned all 6 solids, and we've ignited the other 3. All 3 air starts are up and running, ramping up to their peak thrust. Verniers continue to burn well. Controls look good, starting to get smooth as we head to the upper atmosphere. Engine positions and steering controls look normal at this phase. We're passing an altitude of 15 nautical miles with a downrange distance 38 nautical miles and a velocity of 3,500 miles per hour.
Good data from both the Tel 4 instrumentation tracking facility here at the Cape and also at Jupiter Inlet.
We have burnout of the 3 air start motors. We're coming up on T plus 130 seconds. And there's jettison. Solid motor jettison. All 3 have jettison. Nice clean signature there. We see the usual disturbance at solid motor jettison. Vehicle recovered very nicely. And the main engine and 2 verniers are still burning well. We're now passing an altitude of 32 nautical miles with a downrange distance 103 nautical miles, and our velocity is now 6,200 miles per hour. Stage systems continue to do well. All first stage systems are at the levels they should be. Passing T plus 180 seconds into the mission. We have had our LOX tank bi-level pressurization. It came in on time. Coming up on T plus 210 seconds into the mission, the main engine and verniers continue to burn well as we head into the thin atmosphere. Main engine now delivering over 240,000 pounds of thrust as we pass an altitude of 48 nautical miles. And we're running a downrange distance of 225 nautical miles with a velocity of 10,000 miles per hour. Onboard video system still looking great from here at the AE telemetry station, sending back a remarkable image from the first stage.
Quality of the data here at the Mission Director Center is very good, both from the tracking station here at the Cape and the South Florida Jupiter Inlet Station.
Fuel float switch followed by LOX float switch, and we have enabled MECO.
And there's MECO. Our main engine has cut off, shut down on time. Both verniers looking good. And we have VECO. Both verniers cut off on time. We've separated the stages and started the second stage. Second stage is ignited, up and running. And we looks like we have a very clean helium reg pressure. No signs of oscillation there. And our fairing has jettisoned. Came away clean. Looks like a good signature there.
First stage is now on its own.
T plus 307 seconds into the mission. Like a nice crisp jettison from the fairing. Good signatures on all 3 triaxic cells. Passing an altitude of 72 nautical miles with a downrange distance 500 nautical miles and a velocity of 13,700 miles an hour. It is still looking very good coming from Tel 4. It looks like we have a MECO orbit here, which is an estimated orbit based on MECO state vectors. We show a good altitude of MECO, at MECO rather. A little bit low, but nothing to worry about. And our burnout velocity, roughly 80 foot per second low, so we may get an extra second or two out of the second stage burn. Coming up on T plus 392, T plus 400 seconds, and we have switched to Antigua data. Stage continues to burn well. Nice solid chamber pressure there.
Chief Engineer James Wood in the picture. And Telemetry Manager Mark Levine is walking through the various charts. There we see Mark Levine.
See very light roll jet activity as we continue our climb to orbit, passing T plus T140, correction, T plus 425 seconds. Continue to perform well. Now passing an altitude of 90 nautical miles, downrange distance 950, and a velocity of 15,160 miles an hour. And we've just passed T plus 460 seconds as we continue screaming up to orbit with a second stage thrust of a little over 10,000 pounds.
Getting very close to orbital velocity now.
Our data from Antigua looks very clean. Our roll jet activity continues to be light. Passing T plus 500 seconds, now passing an altitude of 92 nautical miles with a downrange distance 1,150 nautical miles, and inching towards orbit with a velocity of 15,900 miles an hour.
Should reach the initial orbit at 97 nautical miles.
Body rates looking good, coming from Rivka. T plus 530 seconds, where our next mark event will be a nominal SECO. Expect a SECO in about 40 seconds from now. Second stage continues to burn well.
9 minutes, 6 seconds into flight.
I think we're just starting to see the beginnings of the helium reg blowdown phase of second stage operation. Still look good.
We're about a minute and a half away from being in initial orbit, the parking orbit, the coast phase.
There's SECO. A couple seconds long by our estimate, but well within the margin, well within the 3 sigma parameters. We've made it to orbit. Okay, we've entered a coast phase of the mission. We've entered our parking orbit. And we have a SECO 1 orbit in front of us on cards page 401. We are data from the Otter shipboard tracking station any minute now, but at this time I can't confirm that we have valid data. Expect to see our ullage jets come up at any moment now, and I have confirmed we are locked up on the Otter tracking station over by the coast of Africa. Okay, we can confirm we have our ullage jets on. Should be moments away from hydraulic pump switch on. There it is. Our hydraulic pump has switched on. The data seems to be dropping out a bit. I think it may be a decom situation. We're passing T plus 1590 seconds. There it is. We restarted the second stage, raising our apogee. And we show a good chamber pressure there on the second stage. We don't appear to have all our discretes available here from the Otter station, but we can certainly verify that we have good chamber pressure and a good hydraulic pump, and the other channels, the other analog channels that are available look good also.
Mars-Roboter Spirit ins All gestartet. Um 19:58 Uhr deutscher Zeit hob die Trägerrakete vom Weltraumbahnhof Cape Canaveral in Florida ab. Die NASA spricht von einem perfekten Start. Ende Juni soll der zweite Mars-Rover auf den Weg zum roten Planeten geschickt werden. Die Fahrzeuge sollen Erkenntnisse über einstige Wasservorkommen liefern.
4, 3, 2, 1, engine start and liftoff of the Delta II rocket.
Beim dritten Versuch klappte es der Weltraumbahnhof Cape Canaveral in Florida. Pünktlich um 19:58 Uhr deutscher Zeit startet die Delta II Trägerrakete an Bord Spirit, der erste von insgesamt 2 Mars-Rovern, die die NASA zum roten Planeten schickt. Fast 7 Monate dauert der Flug. Wenn alles glatt geht, soll Spirit am 4. Januar 2004 den roten Planeten erreichen. Die Landung, umhüllt von Airbags, die den Aufprall abfedern, setzt der Rover auf dem Mars auf, legt das Landeequipment ab und entfaltet sich zu einem Hightech-Geländefahrzeug. In der Computeranimation funktioniert alles reibungslos, doch ein Risiko bleibt. Der Mars, dank dieser NASA-Mitarbeiter, ist schon für viele Raumfahrzeuge zum Friedhof geworden. Wir tun alles, um das Risiko zu minimieren, aber ein Restrisiko bleibt. 3 Wochen nach Spirit soll der zweite Mars-Rover den roten Planeten erreichen. Opportunity, ein baugleiches Fahrzeug, rund $800 Millionen haben die Roboter zusammen gekostet. Ihre erste Aufgabe, ein 360-Grad-Überblick von der Landestelle per Panoramakamera. Dann sollen die Fahrzeuge Bodenproben nehmen und so Erkenntnisse über Wasservorkommen liefern. Wo immer wir Wasser, Energie oder organische Verbindungen finden, finden wir Leben. Wasser ist der Schlüssel zum Leben und eines der 3 wichtigsten Ziele der NASA ist die Suche nach Leben. Dabei sollen die Rover nicht nur genau, sondern auch schnell arbeiten, denn der Mars-Express der Europäischen Weltraumagentur hat ein paar Tage Vorsprung. Er soll bereits an Weihnachten auf dem roten Planeten eintreffen.
Start verschoben werden müssen. Jetzt ist der Mars-Roboter der NASA auf dem Weg zum roten Planeten. An Bord einer Delta-Rakete hob das kleine Geländefahrzeug in Cape Canaveral ab. In 6 Monaten soll es den Mars erreichen. Nach der Landung wird der Roboter nach Wasser- und Lebensspuren suchen. Bereits vor einer Woche hatte auch die Europäische Weltraumagentur ESA eine Marssonde auf die Reise geschickt.
Zum Mars haben die USA erneut eine Sonde auf den Weg zum Nachbarplaneten gebracht. Die Delta-II-Trägerrakete der NASA hob am Abend vom Raumfahrtzentrum Cape Canaveral in Florida ab. Sie soll den ersten von 2 Landerobotern zum roten Planeten bringen. Im Januar soll die Sonde Spirit den Mars erreichen, um nach Wasser und Spuren von Leben zu suchen. Der Start war wegen schlechten Wetters zweimal verschoben worden.
Exploration vehicles finally took off from Cape Canaveral in Florida after twice being delayed due to bad weather.
3, 2, 1, engine start, and liftoff of the Delta II rocket carrying the Spirit from Earth to planet Mars.
$800 million worth of robot leaves the Kennedy Space Center in a mission NASA hopes will show there was once enough water to support life on the forbidding red planet.
And there's jettison, solid motor jettison.
The launch went off smoothly, but with 18 out of 30 previous attempts to reach Mars failing, the odds are stacked against the Spirit probe.
Correction, 10,000 miles per hour.
Once in Mars's orbit, the probe will drop, parachute style, in an inflated airbag to cushion the impact of landing. The 4-wheeled robot should then emerge butterfly-like to begin its geological survey. Spirit's scheduled to remain on Mars for about 3 months until the build-up of dust on the solar panels that power it shuts it down. It shouldn't be alone on the planet. Earlier this month, Russia and the European Union also took advantage of the brief window when the Earth and Mars are closest together, sending the Beagle 2 on a similar mission. The US rover is scheduled to arrive on Mars in January. If its mission continues to go as planned, a second robot will be launched at the end of this month. Nicola Conn, BBC News.
Auf dem Weg zum Mars, denn am Abend ist von Florida aus erneut eine Rakete gestartet, die eine Sonde zum roten Planeten befördern soll. Nachdem die Europäische Raumfahrtagentur ESA schon vor einer Woche ihren Mars-Express losgeschickt hat, ziehen nun die Amerikaner nach. Mit ihrem Mars-Rover will die NASA ebenfalls den Mars erkunden und dort vor allem nach Spuren von Wasser und Leben suchen. Offiziell sprechen die Verantwortlichen auf beiden Seiten nicht von einem Wettlauf. Aber niemand zweifelt, dass es auch um ein Prestigeduell zwischen Europa und den USA geht. Björn Heckmann über den Run zum Mars.
Beim dritten Versuch hat es endlich funktioniert. Nachdem der Start des ersten Mars-Rovers wegen einer Regenfront zweimal verschoben werden musste, ist die Delta-II-Rakete am Abend pünktlich in Florida gestartet. Und in 2 Wochen soll eine zweite baugleiche Sonde auf den Weg gebracht werden. Sicher ist sicher. Alle Missionen zum Mars waren ein großes Risiko. Diesmal haben wir alles getan, um die Chancen für einen Erfolg zu verbessern. Aber trotzdem sind wir der Gnade von Wind und Steinen dieses Planeten ausgeliefert, je nachdem, wo wir landen. Wir müssen einfach abwarten. Einen Fehler wie 1999, als unter anderem wegen simpler Umrechnungsfehler gleich 2 Sonden auf dem Weg zum Mars verloren gingen, kann sich die NASA jedenfalls nicht noch einmal erlauben. Diesmal sollen 2 Landefahrzeuge, abgefedert von Fallschirmen und Airbags, auf dem Planeten landen und dann in einem Radius von bis zu 500 Metern Fotos machen, Bodenproben entnehmen und nach Wasser suchen. Genau das haben auch die Europäer mit ihrem Mars Express vor, der schon vor einer Woche vom Weltraumbahnhof Baikonur in Kasachstan aus gestartet ist.
Für uns sind zwei Fragen ganz wichtig. Die erste Frage ist, gibt es Wasser auf dem Mars, auf der Oberfläche oder höchstwahrscheinlich im Untergrund? Da gehen wir auf die Suche danach. Und die zweite, genauso interessante oder vielleicht noch interessantere Frage ist, gibt es Leben oder hat es Leben auf dem Mars gegeben?
Sowohl Amerikaner als auch Europäer fliegen in diesem Jahr zum Mars, weil er der Erde zurzeit besonders nah und dadurch schneller zu erreichen ist als sonst. Der europäische Mars Express ist allerdings deutlich preisgünstiger und soll noch vor den NASA-Rovern sein Ziel erreichen. Man darf wohl davon ausgehen, dass es die Amerikaner durchaus ein wenig ärgern wird, wenn das alte Europa früher in neue Welten vorstößt als die Konkurrenz aus den USA.
Es ist ein gewisser Wettbewerb vorhanden. Aber trotzdem sprechen die Wissenschaftler sich international ab über ihre wissenschaftlichen Ziele und versuchen weitestgehend solche Missionen komplementär, das heißt also ergänzend durchzuführen. Was der eine nicht beobachtet oder nicht so genau beobachten kann, soll der andere dann eben besser erfassen.
Der erste NASA-Rover soll im Januar 2004 am Mars eintreffen, der europäische Mars-Express sogar schon Ende 2003. In jedem Falle aber werden Europäer und Amerikaner deutlich schneller dort sein als ihre Kollegen aus Japan. Denn deren Sonde namens Nozomi, zu Deutsch Hoffnung, ist schon seit 1998 unterwegs, wird wegen technischer Probleme aber frühestens im nächsten Jahr den Mars erreichen. Die besten Plätze sind dann natürlich längst vergeben.
Bilder aus der Zukunft. Im Januar nächsten Jahres sollen die Roboter nicht mehr nur als Animation über den Mars rattern, sondern Originalaufnahmen vom roten Planeten senden. Doch die Wackelbilder, die uns dann per Internet oder Fernsehen erreichen werden, sind nur der schöne Nebeneffekt einer aufwendigen Expedition. Das wissenschaftliche Ziel dieser Mars-Mission ist es, herauszufinden, ob auf dem Mars jemals Bedingungen existiert haben, die eine Entwicklung von Leben ermöglichten. Es geht also letztendlich um Bewohnbarkeit. War der Planet jemals bewohnbar? Denn heute sieht er nicht mehr besonders einladend aus. Ein Roboter ist bereits auf dem Weg zum Mars, der zweite soll am frühen Morgen starten. Kopfzerbrechen bereitet den Wissenschaftlern aber nicht der Start der Sonne, sondern deren Landung. Von 9 Versuchen sind der NASA bislang nur 3 geglückt. Wir können alles richtig machen. Wir können $400 Millionen investieren, aber wenn auch nur eine Windböe aufkommt, die das Limit überschreitet, dann ist die ganze Mission gescheitert. Derzeit gibt es einen regelrechten Run auf den roten Planeten, denn der Abstand zwischen Mars und Erde ist so gering wie selten. Die Flugzeit verkürzt sich um 3 Monate. Die europäische Raumfahrtbehörde ESA hat diesen Umstand bereits vor 3 Wochen genutzt und einen eigenen Roboter ins All geschickt. Kurz vor Weihnachten soll dieser dann die ersten Aufnahmen und Untersuchungsergebnisse zur Erde schicken.
The rocket carrying the Robotic Explorer Opportunity was meant to have taken off in the past half hour, but the wind changed direction at the last minute. NASA is now aiming to launch the probe from Cape Canaveral in the next 15 minutes or so. Wind permitting, of course.
Und vor 2 Wochen war ein erster Roboter auf den Weg zum Mars geschickt worden. Beide Sonden sollen nach Wasser- und Lebensspuren suchen. Die Landung auf dem roten Planeten ist für Januar geplant. Nach neuesten Erkenntnissen soll es auf dem Mars mehr Wasser geben als bisher angenommen.
If all goes well, to the planet Mars now in less than a minute and a half. You take a look at Mission Control, and we bring Miles O'Brien in. Miles, there's already one rover up there on its way, right?
Yes, that one is called Spirit. Those were named by a contest, Spirit and Opportunity. NASA could probably rename them if they wanted to, Hope Against Hope, because they had a rough go, as you recall, back in December of 1999 with the Mars Polar Lander. You'll remember that attempt to land on the red planet. And let's listen to the launch here for just a moment. 30 seconds to go here, Aaron. And this is an important mission because it'll give them an opportunity to get down on the surface and continue their hunt for water. Where there's water, there's life. Let's listen.
I'll go for a launch in 20 seconds. 15 seconds. Hold. We've had a hold.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. They have a very narrow window here.
Drain closure valve failure.
Yes, and I'm going to listen here to see what it is, but I'm willing to... There are any number of parameters as they get down to the launch. When they say recycle, there's another opportunity at 11:10:44, and it always amazes me, Aaron, when you're talking about a journey of several 100 million miles, that it comes down to just precise seconds like this that it has to launch.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but if they miss that 11:10-ish window, then the window's closed for a good long time.
No, we still have a little opportunity. We have until July 15th to get this particular mission off, and then the window closes down for about 52 months. 52 months. Mars is only reachable every 26 months because of a lot of orbital mechanics. You can think of Mars and Earth going around a racetrack, and it's only when they happen to kind of merge together that you have an opportunity to reach Mars with a rocket. Now, for whatever reason, they're not going to try on the next 26-month period. It would be 52 months out. By that time, this rover will probably be outmoded. So this is, we're getting down to the wire here. July 15th still allows them a week or so to play with. We'll see if they get it off at 11:10.
Well, they got it down to 15 seconds, and they put a hold on it, and we'll keep an eye on that as the clock moves towards 11 o'clock here in the East. Miles, thank you. It was close. We almost got there. A few other stories.
And for the live takeoff of the Mars mission, the latest Mars mission.
2, main engine start, 0, and liftoff of the Delta rocket with Opportunity, a chance to explore and unlock the secrets of our neighboring planet.
The transients at liftoff. Engine position looks good. Recovering nicely from the liftoff transients, and the solid rocket motors are increasing their thrust during their 75-second burn. Main engine chamber pressure is holding steady, and the vernier engines are continuing to burn well. And we're now past Mach 1. The vehicle is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. So we now are entering the max Q portion of our flight, where the vehicle encounters the greatest aerodynamic forces.
Jupiter Inlet Station now has signal.
Main engine continues to burn well. Solids are tapering off their thrust. Approximately 20 more seconds left of the burning of the first ground-lit solid rocket motors. Engine positions continue to look nominal. Vehicle's tracking right down the center of the range tracking. Here we have burnout of the solid rocket motors on the ground lit, and we have air starts of all 3 solid rocket motors and separation of the 6 ground lit solid rockets.
It's the voice of Ted Jones in the telemetry lab.
A Delta II rocket launched at the Kennedy Space Center in the U.S. state of Florida just moments ago. The launch was delayed numerous times due to technical and weather problems. If all goes well, the rover should arrive January the 25th next year on a crater called Terra Meridani. NASA earlier launched the rocket carrying the Spirit rover. NASA says the rovers will probe areas that appear to have been affected by liquid water in the past.
That's one, the vehicle is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. So we now are entering the max Q portion of our flight, where the vehicle encounters the greatest aerodynamic forces.
Jupiter Inlet Station now has signal.
Main engine continues to burn well. Solids are tapering off their thrust. Approximately 20 more seconds left of the burning of the first.
Copy. ATC-1, begin LOX loading.
Copy. Prop 1, set the vehicle LOX tank vent to open. It's open. Timer, time LOX flow from flying load valve open to 100% LOX.
Roger.
Timer, announce time at 1 minute intervals.
Roger.
Top page 61, prop 2, vehicle LOX fill and drain to open.
It's open.
Take note of the caution. And then prop 2, LOX debris to open.
It's open.
Top page 62, prop 2, LOX fill to open.
It's open.
LOX topping to open.
It's open.
LOX storage tank vent to close.
It's closed.
And LOX storage tank press to open.
It's open.
And then prop 2, when storage tank pressure increases to approximately 16 psig minimum, flying load open on your mark.
Roger.
And timer starts time.
Roger.
LCDR and SSC.
It's LCDR, go.
Okay, I'm requesting a small break.
Fine load coming open on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
And then rapid load to open.
Go ahead, SSC.
PM2 will cover while I'm on station.
Rapid load's open.
Copy that. The timer, report the UTC time, please, when flying load was open.
00:51:33.
And then prop 1, let's have engine heaters to on. And they're on.
And top page 63. ATC 3, special instrumentation heaters underscore run. Roger. And when that's complete, let me know. That's complete. And then ATC 3, monitor your list as listed. Roger. At 15. Okay, prop 1, let's have enable locks, relief valve, plenum heaters only if plenum pressure approaches 7.4. Roger. PTO monitor and observe FABU heater cycles.
1 minute into the flow. Roger.
And then prop 1, let's have engine heaters to on. FABU. FABU heaters on. And then prop 2, let's have locks, load, timer enabled to on.
It's on.
And prop 1 will monitor the vehicle locks tank pressure. Roger. And prop 1 monitor the vehicle locks tank vent, start tank vent line, and VE bleed ports for GOX. Roger. And we see ox from the vent. And then prop 2 report actuation of low flow switch when it occurs. Roger.
Minutes into the flow.
And then prop 1 verify box pump inlet temperature, function, cryogenic temperatures, and that is complete.
This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 70 minutes, 25 seconds and counting. A reminder that there are 2 television cameras mounted on the Delta second stage tonight, one looking down, the other looking forward. Through the tracking stations here at the Cape, this should enable us to see the solid rocket boosters separate and the first stage fall away and then the second stage ignite. And then later on, if communications through the tracking stations in the Pacific work as planned, then through the forward-looking camera, we should see the spacecraft attached to the third stage, spin up, and separate from the second stage before its ignition. Tracking data and telemetry of the Delta flight today will be provided initially from 2 locations, the Air Force tracking stations at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Kennedy Space Center, as well as an Air Force tracking station located near Jupiter Inlet, about 100 miles south of Cape Canaveral. Communications will be able to be maintained with the vehicle for about 7 to 7.5 minutes. Then the Air Force downrange station on Antigua Island in the South Caribbean will acquire the signal from the Delta, providing the tracking data and telemetry until 11 minutes into the mission. At that point, we'll be going into a coast phase, and there will be no data received during that time since there are no vehicle events occurring in that coast phase of any significance. So the next data coming back here to the telemetry lab here at the Mission Director Center will be the U.S. Army tracking station at Kwajalein Island in the South Pacific, about 1 hour and 6 minutes or so, followed by a Navy P-3 tracking aircraft. Next, the Air Force ground station at Johnson Atoll in the South Pacific, and that will be followed by the Air Force tracking station at Hawaii at 1 hour 13 minutes into flight. For spacecraft separation, we'll also have the tracking station at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California They'll be the final station to acquire the vehicle, as well as the tracking station in Hawaii, which will continue to maintain communications. The MER-B Opportunity spacecraft separation occurs about an hour and 20 minutes into the flight, and then the Deep Space Network at Goldstone, California will acquire almost immediately after separation to provide the data on the course of the spacecraft, whether it's power positive, and its state of health. At that point, Opportunity will be on its way to Mars and will continue to maintain contact through the Deep Space Network at Canberra, Australia, Goldstone, California, and Madrid, Spain. But once the spacecraft is in Mars, the rover on the ground will relay its signals from the surface to the Mars Global Surveyor and Mars Odyssey spacecraft in orbit about Mars, as well as continuing to have direct contact with Earth from the ground through the Deep Space Network. Spacecraft team reports having received an error message from the spacecraft atop the vehicle, but it's not known at this point to what extent that's of any consequence. They're just passing that information along while they see what the nature of that error message was. Meantime, the liquid oxygen loading onto the Delta first stage continues to go well. At T-minus 66 minutes, 16 seconds and counting, this is Delta Launch Control.
T-minus 33 minutes. FSC, verify E-package on. On. SSC, verify E-package on. On. GE, slew charts to 5 mil.
5 mils.
CLCDR, LC-17B, hydraulic enable on.
On.
FSC, HPU on.
HPU on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. HPU on.
Following personnel report ready to continue with the countdown on channel 1. ATC 3.
Ready.
SSC.
Ready.
SCM. GE.
Ready.
SSP. Ready. TM2.
Ready.
ATC 2.
Ready.
Inspector 6.
Ready.
VP.
Ready.
FMA.
Ready.
QAM 3.
Ready.
QAM 2.
Ready.
FSC.
Ready.
TM1.
Ready.
DST.
Ready.
RC.
Ready.
LCDR, prop 2. LCDR, go. Prop 2 is back on the loop. Copy.
T-minus 21 minutes.
RCO, verify all command areas are clear for CRD turn-on at T-minus 15 minutes.
Verified.
SYS, disable alarms and average limits for RF link checks.
Roger. Alarms disabled.
DSC, perform all stages RF link checks and report complete.
Roger.
And SYS, after completion of RF link checks, enable alarms and average limits and report complete.
Roger.
Standing by to go into the T-minus 20-minute built-in hold in about 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. T-minus 20 minutes and holding. This is a 20-minute planned built-in hold. And the sequencer is holding a count as it should. And there is one remaining hold at T-minus 4 minutes, which is a 10-minute hold. At T-minus 20 minutes and holding, this is Delta Launch Control. This is Delta Launch Control at T-minus 20 minutes and holding. We'll look now at video taken earlier this afternoon at about 4:30 of the mobile service tower, the gantry being rolled away from the Delta II heavy vehicle.
LCDR.
Yes, all stages are of link check complete satisfactory.
Copy. Thank you. And SYS, you copy?
I copy, and alarms and average limits are enabled.
Copy. Thank you. And QAM, this is LCDR.
It's QM on 1.
You could turn ahead to page 3-95. I've got 4 parameters to add to our disable alarm list.
Okay, I'm there.
The Delta vehicle, its total length on the pad is 130 feet tall, and the solid rocket boosters around the base of it are what give it its Delta Heavy configuration. They're 4 feet longer and 6 inches larger in diameter. Once the tower really gets into its high-speed roll for retraction, it takes about 15 minutes to move it back its entire distance from the vehicle. The spacecraft up on top weighs 2,374 pounds, but the rover, which is what we'll, of course, be watching on Mars, is just a fraction of that weight at 384 pounds.
Cycling LOX tank vent.
Opportunity will land on Mars January 25th at 1:15 p.m. local Martian time. The amount of time it will take for the signal to reach Earth at that point is about 11 minutes. And the rover's mission will last 90 Martian days or 92 Earth days. And as we said, it'll be relaying its communications through Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Odyssey, and the Deep Space Network.
T-minus 8 minutes. Prop 2, PSD purge press open.
Open.
Prop 2, verify locks umbilical purge closed.
Closed.
PTO, verify FABU and engine heaters go.
Go.
PTO, verify overflow line temp rises less than 12 degrees.
Verified.
Once we have liftoff, we'll be switching to the Boeing telemetry manager, Ted Jones, in the telemetry lab, where we'll be able to follow the flight events from the vehicle, as well as watch what we can see from the second stage camera.
Complete. Prop 1, report locks relief plenum pressure.
8.4.
Prop 1, report locks relief plenum temperature.
72.1.
Prop 2, top locks to 100% and verify 100% locks float switch operation one time.
Roger.
Prop 2, allow locks to boil off, maintain locks level between 99 and 100%, report complete.
Roger.
T-minus 6 minutes. ATC-2, pressurized facility water tanks.
Pressurizing.
TM2, report internal Batmon volts.
32.27.
TM2, report TM Batmon volts.
32.34.
LWO, verify area weather conditions, go for launch.
Weather is go. T-minus 5 minutes. SSC, third stage external transfer to run.
Active. Complete.
OSM, launch enable closed.
Closed.
Prop 1 on the FSP panel, launch enable on.
On.
SSP on the SSP panel, launch enable on.
On.
ATC-3 on the ATC panel, launch enable on.
On.
We're about 30 seconds from going into the planned built-in hold at T-minus 4. No problems being reported either with the vehicle or the spacecraft. Going into the hold now in 3, 2, 1. T-minus 4 minutes and holding. This is a 10-minute, 23-second built-in hold. Liquid oxygen on the Delta vehicle reported still be holding at 100%.
LCDR FMA.
LCDR go.
Load relief wind data has been loaded. Internal checksum 8 Echo 97.
Copy.
One minute remaining in the hold.
Minus 9 minutes.
Following personnel report ready to proceed with the countdown. FSC.
Ready.
Prop 1.
Ready.
Prop 2.
Ready.
TM1.
Ready.
SSC.
Ready.
SSP.
Ready.
ACC.
Ready.
PTO.
Ready.
VP.
Ready.
TM2.
Ready.
HYE.
Ready.
FMA.
Ready.
SYS.
Ready.
ESYS.
Ready.
RCO.
Ready.
MIFCO.
MIFCO's ready.
ATC2.
Ready.
ATC3.
Ready.
VE.
Ready.
MEA.
Ready.
EEA.
Ready.
PEA.
Ready.
RC.
Ready.
VSC.
Ready.
GE.
Ready.
OSM.
Ready.
LWO.
Ready.
NASA Spacecraft Coordinator.
Ready.
MCE.
Ready.
Post-launch securing will be conducted on Channel 5. Flight data will be reported real-time on Channel 2. The following personnel switch to Channel 5 after liftoff is confirmed for pad securing. CLCDR, Prop 1, ATC 2, Prop 2, SSP, OSM, SSC, Talker, FSC, and ATC 3. All personnel, if a countdown condition that exceeds a launch constraint is observed during the final 4 minutes, the observer shall announce hold on the Launch Ops Net Channel 1 and state the reason. All personnel remain on Channel 1 until after the launch. In the event of a hold after T-minus 4 minutes and before T-minus 2 minutes, recycle steps will begin in Appendix K, page A003-21. In the event of a hold after T-minus 2 minutes, recycle steps will begin in Appendix K, pages A003-18. Appendix K is the yellow pages. To prevent the possibility of a hang fire, personnel with launch-enabled switches are instructed not to switch launch-enable to off after T-minus 4 seconds. In case of an engine cutoff or no vehicle liftoff by T plus 5 seconds, recycle and safing will be performed per Appendix L, page A003-45. Appendix L is the red pages. FSC verified the engine start command is pre-selected by T-minus 5 in order to issue engine start at T-minus 3 seconds.
Just have confirmation from Deputy Project Manager Richard Brace that the Opportunity RB spacecraft is now on internal power.
L minus 6 minutes.
NSC request spacecraft configured for launch.
Roger.
Opportunity now being placed in its launch configuration. Less than a minute and a half remaining in this built-in hold.
Flight commentary RC on Channel 2, com check.
Flight commentary, Channel 2, Hami.
CLCDR, this is LVD, you're clear to proceed with count.
Roger.
CLCDR, verify water pressure is 125 plus or minus 25.
It's verified.
FMA, board latch on, first and second stages.
On.
Stand by for release of the hold.
Picking up in about 30 seconds. Once we launch, we should have quite a cloud of steam around the base of the rocket from this newly installed system, quite a water deluge system, so the rocket will be emerging from a cloud of steam on the launch pad. Picking up in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
T-minus 4 minutes and counting. SSC, perform vehicle internal transfer.
Active.
Complete. SSC, perform vehicle arm.
Active. Armed.
SSC, second stage, camera battery charging off.
Off.
SSC, perform third stage internal transfer.
Active. Complete.
OSM, solid motor, SNA arm permit closed.
Closed.
FSC, ground solid
T-minus
motor,
3 minutes.
ignition SNA arm.
Arm.
FSC, ground solid motor, SEP SNA arm.
Arm.
And that's the live picture from the second stage camera. Solid rocket boosters are now armed.
Third stage SNA arm permit closed.
Closed.
SSC, third stage SNA arm.
Arm.
Prop 1, vehicle fuel tank press open.
Open.
Prop 1, fuel umbilical purge open.
Open.
FSC, BAT 1 heater control exit.
Exit.
FSC, BAT 2 heater control exit.
Exit.
NSC, report spacecraft go.
Spacecraft is go.
T-minus 2 minutes. Prop 1, pressurized first stage, LOX tank 2 relief.
Pressurizing. 5 mils.
So with that pressurization command, the venting stopped.
Bring to 100%.
Seconds. SSC, hydraulic external power on.
External.
Let's turn this down just a little bit.
80 seconds.
RCO, report range, go for launch.
Range is go for launch.
LCDR, this is LVD, go for launch.
Roger.
70 seconds. SSC, hydraulics internal.
Internal.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Locks.
45 seconds. CLCDR, LC-17B launch enabled flight.
Flight.
ATC 3, main power disable on. 35 seconds.
Electronics go. Hydraulics go.
30 seconds.
Green board here in the Mission Director Center. I'll go for a launch in 20 seconds. 15 seconds. Hold. We've had a hold. We've had a cutoff. Fill and drain closure valve failure.
Page 18.
Pick up page 18.
We're going into recycle.
And the clock is stopped. CLCDR.
Hold
Launch
it.
enable is off.
ATC-3, main power disable, reset.
Reset.
Prop 1, secure water flow. Closed.
Hold has been called.
60-second limits off.
Safing of the vehicle is
-4
underway.
limits off. Prop 2, PSD purge, press closed. It's closed.
On what? The whoosh?
ATC-3, special instrumentation heaters to run.
First indication is that it's a fill and drain valve problem on the first stage of the Delta. System's going back to external.
SSE, hydraulic external power off.
Off.
FSC arm igniters reset.
We never set them.
Copy. NSC, initiate spacecraft transfer to external power and report complete.
Copy.
Prop 2, verify PSD purge, pressure vented.
At this point, we're trying to get into a safe condition so we can assess the situation and then decide if we can make the second opportunity tonight. No word on that yet.
Prop 2, reestablish first stage lock system configuration.
Roger.
Cameras are off. GE, charge this low speed.
Going to slow.
Our second opportunity tonight is at 11:18:15. The launch team going through the turnaround procedure very smoothly, taking the vehicle back to external. We are recycling to the T-4 point at this point.
Open.
SSE, third stage SNA safe.
Safe on.
FSE, ground solid motor ignition SNA safe.
Safe.
Ground solid motor SEP SNA safe.
Safe.
Air-lid ignition SNA safe.
Safe.
Air-lid SEP SNA safe.
The clock cut off at T-7 seconds. A hold was called by the main propulsion system team.
Complete.
SSE, perform T-4 minute recycle.
That's active.
This is a point where we can hold indefinitely while the team has time to discuss it, to see what our options are after understanding what's going on. Again, this is a problem associated with the first stage liquid oxygen fill and drain valve.
Recycle is complete.
Copy. NSC, initiate spacecraft transfer to external power and report complete.
It didn't work.
SSE, second stage camera battery charging on.
On.
Prop 1, vehicle fuel tank press closed.
Repeat, please.
One step 13, page 23. Vehicle fuel tank press closed.
Closed.
Prop 2, reestablish LOX topping cycle at 99%.
Roger.
Prop 1, fuel umbilical purge closed.
Closed.
ACC engine section to air and temp to 140.
Roger.
Cameras are off. Sequencer recycle the sequencer to T-minus 4 minutes and holding, and report when complete.
Roger, in work.
QM. QM, this is LTD.
QM on 1.
Page 24 of the yellow pages. For our alarms, we have the same 4 parameters.
Copy, I have those.
LCDR sequencer.
Go ahead.
Recycle complete.
Copy. And we're going to continue on page 25 of the yellow pages. FMA QM, load the secondary window mission constants.
Roger.
On channel 6.
It means they are loading the parameters for the second launch time tonight at 11:18. It doesn't mean we'll be doing that, but it means we'll be ready to do that.
PEA, this is LCDR on 1.
Vehicle is configured for the second launch time tonight. Meanwhile, engineers are still discussing what they observed on the fill and drain valve on the first stage, and it appears they're reaching a consensus that they want to cycle that valve 2 or 3 times to see how it performs.
Prop 1.
QM.
QM on 1.
Yeah, we'd like to initiate a hardware anomaly concerning the lock, fill, and drain valve not coming closed during our script runs.
Okay, this is at the T-minus 8 second when the hold was called, is that correct?
Or well,
where's our step for that?
I'll give you the step right now. And back to open.
L-minus 5 minutes.
CLCDR, this is LVD. Proceed with terminal count.
Roger.
Prop 1. Cycle the lock, fill, and drain valve an additional 3 times and leave on.
Copy that.
CLCDR, verify water pressure is 125 plus or minus 25.
Verified.
FMA, ord latch on first and second stages.
On.
Stand by for release of the hold.
5 seconds now from picking up the count. 3, 2, 1. T-minus 4 minutes and counting. Launch vehicle now going internal.
Complete. SSC, perform vehicle arm. Active. Complete. SSC, second stage, Camry battery charging off. Off. SSC, perform third stage internal transfer. Active. Complete. OSM, solid motor, SNA arm permit closed. Closed. FSC, ground solid motor, ignition, SNA arm. T-minus 3 minutes. FSC, ground solid motor, SEP, SNA arm. Arm. FSC, airlit, ignition to SNA arm. Arm. FSC, airlit, SEP, SNA arm. Arm. OSM, third stage, SNA arm permit closed. Closed. SSC, third stage, SNA arm. Arm. Prop 1, vehicle fuel tank press open. Open. Prop 1, fuel umbilical purge open. Open. FSC, BAT 1 heater control exit. Exit. FSC, BAT 2 heater control exit. Exit. NSC, report spacecraft go. Spacecraft is go. T-minus 2 minutes. Prop 1, pressurize first stage LOX tank to relief. 5 mils. Pressurizing. 110 seconds. Prop 2, top first stage LOX to 100%. Topping to 100%.
Coming up on the T-minus 90-second mark.
90 seconds. SSC, hydraulic external power on. 80 seconds.
RCO, report range, go for launch.
Range is go for launch.
LCDR, this is LVD, go for launch.
Roger.
70 seconds. SSC, hydraulics internal. On internal.
T-minus 1 minute.
LCDR, countdown limit conditions, T-minus 60 seconds on.
100% LOX.
.45 seconds. CLCDR, LC-17B, launch enable flight.
Flight.
ATC 3, main power disable on.
On.
35 seconds.
Electronics go.
Hydraulics go.
T-minus 30 seconds now. T-minus 25. 20 seconds. Green board here in the Mission Director Center. Topping underway. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, main engine start, 0, and liftoff of the Delta rocket with Opportunity, a chance to explore and unlock the secrets of our neighboring planet.
The transients at liftoff. Engine position looks good. Recovering nicely from the liftoff transients, and the solid rocket motors are increasing their thrust during their 75-second burn. Main engine chamber pressure is holding steady, and the vernier engines are continuing to burn well. And we're now past Mach 1. The vehicle is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. So we now are entering the max Q portion of our flight where the vehicle encounters the greatest aerodynamic forces.
Jupiter Inlet Station now has signal.
Main engine continues to burn well. Solids are tapering off their thrust. Approximately 20 more seconds left of the burning of the first ground-lit solid rocket motors. Engine positions continue to look nominal. Vehicle's tracking right down the center of the range tracking. Here we have burnout of the solid rocket motors on the ground lit, and we have air starts of all 3 solid rocket motors and separation of the 6 ground lit solid rockets.
It's the voice of Ted Jones in the telemetry lab.
Main engine continues to burn well. Vernier engines continue to burn. And the 3 air-lit solids are continuing to burn symmetrically with equal amounts of thrust. T plus 116 seconds. Pass through T plus 130 seconds. Altitude is 25 miles. Downrange distance 65 miles, and our velocity is 5,200 miles per hour.
2 minutes, 10 seconds into the mission.
We have the LOX tank press event, and we do see a slow rise in the liquid oxygen tank pressure, as expected. Flight controls are really smooth now as we move in the upper atmosphere. The engine continues to burn smoothly, constant chamber pressure. The air-lit solids have burned out and separated. We have separation of the air-lit solids. We see just a little bit of disturbance during that separation, but nothing much to report there. It's very smooth. Vehicles recovered nicely as we continue to burn. T plus 3 minutes. We're getting good, nice, clean video from the video camera from the rocket. And right now our altitude is 43 miles, downrange distance 170 miles, and our velocity is now over 8,600 miles per hour.
Three minutes, 20 seconds into the mission.
The first stage continues to burn well. We have approximately 40 seconds left of this burn. Continuing to go well. We're expecting our MECO enable in approximately 10 seconds.
That is the main engine cutoff for the first stage, after which it will fall away.
The float switches, and we've enabled MECO, main engine cutoff, and we're standing by for main engine cutoff, and we have main engine cutoff. Verniers continue to burn. Verniers have cut off. And we have stage 1-2 separation. Standing by for stage 2 ignition. And we see stage 2 ignition. And we have separation of the payload fairing.
This is Ted Jones in our
And looking at the separation accelerometers, looks good on the separation. Chamber pressure on the second stage engines looking good, nice and solid and steady.
Velocity appears to be right on the money.
Hydraulic pressure used to steer the second stage engines looking good. Passing past 5 minutes 45 seconds. Altitude is now 77 miles. Downrange distance 623 miles, and velocity is nearly 14,700 miles an hour. Our official liftoff time was 03 hours, 18 minutes, 15.070 seconds. And we've now switched to our Antigua tracking station, and we anticipate having data from Antigua for the next 5 minutes until it flies out of range. Continued to burn well in the second stage. Chamber pressure continues to hold up. flight commentary. We do appear to have some data from Ascension Island, and the data that we do see looks good. We're still in our coast mode. We expect to be in our coast mode for quite a few more minutes. We're seeing some roll rates occurring and some jet firings to go along with those roll rates. And we have lost our signal from Ascension. We've flown out of range. And now that we're past the Ascension tracking station, we anticipate picking up the Kwajalein tracking station in approximately 40 minutes from now. Again, at this time, since we don't have any data to report, the flight commentary will pause until we get closer to acquisition of signal through Kwajalein.